Hello students, and welcome back to our discussion on the grammar test. This is part 2 of our discussion. In the earlier class, we discussed three major topics with regard to errors in grammatical constructions, dealing with concord or subject-verb agreement, the structure of interrogative sentences, and the usage of a word like prefer. Let us now move to the remaining part of the test and discuss the 7 remaining questions and the structures associated with those questions. So, the fourth question was, when we reach the place, they have left already. Well, take a look at the sentence and you know that there is obviously something wrong with the tense used here. So that is the error. You realize that there are two actions referred to in this sentence. When we reach there and they having left. Now when there are two actions in the past, the rule is that the earlier action should be in the past perfect tense. Okay? When there are two actions in the past, the earlier action should be in the past perfect tense. The past perfect is, of course, constructed using the structure had plus the past participle form of the verb. And therefore, this sentence should be rewritten as, when we reached the place, they had left already. Had left is the past perfect form of leave. So when we reached the place, they had left already. Look at the other sentences given here by way of illustration. I'd finished the task before they came to check. There are two actions here. One is somebody coming to check. The other is finishing the task. Now, which happened earlier? Finishing the task was done or was completed before they came to check. So that earlier action should be in past perfect tense. I had finished. I had finished the task before they came to check. The next one, I had eaten my food by the time the bell rang. The bell would probably have rung at 1 o'clock, but I had finished my lunch by, let us say, 12:30. So, since that is the earlier action, I can say I had eaten my food by the time the bell rang. So a look at this image will help you to understand this better. The earlier action, that is, the action that was already completed when the other activity took place, is what is conveyed through the past perfect tense. So when you're speaking at a point in the present about two activities or two actions or two events in the past, the earlier one should be in past perfect. The more recent one, that is the event or the action closer to the present from where we are speaking, is in the simple past tense. This table will give you an idea regarding the formation of the past perfect in positive and negative sentences. Suppose we have a verb like ask. So, we use the past perfect of ask in a situation where you have two actions in the past and the earlier among those actions has the verb ask in it. Okay, so the sentence would be something like this. I had asked my friend about the book before I read it. I had asked my friend about the book before I read it. So the earlier action is my asking my friend about it. So that is why it is used in the past perfect tense. I had asked my friend about the book before I read it. Before I read it is the time closer to the present. So that is in the simple past. Before I read it. Now, suppose we need to construct a negative sentence, a sentence which conveys a negative meaning. In a similar manner, the earlier action among the two actions in the past will be indicated or will be in the past perfect tense. I had not asked anyone about the book before I read it. I had not asked anyone about the book before I read it. Again, the earlier action, never asking anyone, comes first, and it is then that you read the book and then you come to the present. So, the action that is closer to the present is reading the book. Even before that, you had not asked. So, that is why that is in the past perfect tense. Let us now take a look at the fifth question. She is elder than her friends. One look at the sentence and you know that the error has something to do with degrees of comparison. Here is a sentence in the comparative degree. Is the word elder right? It sounds okay because it ends in ER, but what does it convey? You want to convey the idea that somebody is older than her friends. The correct adjective to be used in the sentence is older, because older is a comparative form of old. Old, older, oldest. Old and older and oldest, and elder and eldest. These convey almost the same idea because you're talking about the age, of somebody being a senior and somebody being older. But there is a difference between these two adjectives. Elder is never used to form the comparative. In other words, you cannot have than following elder. So you can't say she is elder than her friends. You have to use it as she is older than her friends. Elder is an attributive adjective which is mostly always used before a noun. She is the elder child of the family. This is my elder brother. So, this is an adjective, an attributive adjective, which is used either before a noun or it can be used to indicate relationships in a family. These are the two contexts in which you can use a word like elder or eldest too. They are used as attributive adjectives used before a noun and to indicate relationships in a family. They are not used, elder and eldest are not used in the comparative or superlative form. That is, you cannot have elder or eldest come before than. When you have a structure or a sentence involving a comparison or with than, then the right word to be used is older. So you may say she is the eldest child, she is my elder sister, but she is older than me, she is older than her friends. So older is before than you need older and not elder. So the slide explains it in a better manner. Elder and older both mean more advanced in age, but older and oldest describe things as well as people. That is another difference. You can say this is an old book, this is an older book, this is the oldest book in my library, but you do not use the word elder to refer to things. Elder is always specifically used to refer to people, but again, elder is not used for comparative forms where you have than in the sentence. You can also use elder as a noun. For example, in a sentence like, you ought to respect your elders. In that situation, you cannot use older. In other words, older cannot be used as a noun. It is wrong to say you need to respect your elders. That's wrong. You need to respect your elders. Respect who? Your elders. So that is a noun, and elder is fine there, not older. So this is something that you need to keep in mind, the difference between elder and eldest on the one hand and older and oldest. So when The sentences involve the than construction. Make sure you use older or oldest. In the next sentence, we come back to tenses. Look at this one. Last year, Peter plays for the other team. We have the reference here to an action in the past. The time is mentioned, last year. But what about Peter plays for the other team? Look at the verb there, plays. It is the present tense. Last year, Peter plays for the other team. You're referring to the past, but you're using the present tense. That is obviously not permissible, and therefore you need to rewrite the sentence using the simple past tense. Last year, Peter played for the other team. Played, play plus ed, the past tense of play. The simple past tense, sometimes known as the preterite, it refers to or actions that have already happened in the past. The simple past tense conveys the idea that the action is completed. And when you have a specific time reference, it is always the simple past tense that we use. Yesterday, I watched a movie. Last year, we traveled to Ooty. Okay, last month, we met our friends. So in the seventh sentence too, we discuss a similar situation. I have read the play last week. You look at the action. It is about reading a play the previous week. Obviously, it is an action that has happened in the past. And what is the tense used? I have read the play last week. Have plus verb. Have read. Why do we use the present perfect tense here? It is not suitable for this situation because this is a sentence which talks about an action which was completed at a period that is mentioned, which is completed at a point of time that is mentioned in the sentence last week. So as is in the previous sentence, here again we need to use the simple past tense. I read the play last week. The last week specific reference conveys the idea that we need to use the simple past tense. It was completed. We had finished reading the play last week, and therefore we need to write it in the simple past tense. Another way of rewriting it would be I have read the play. That is the present perfect tense. It is the tense that we use when we refer to an action that happened in the past, but the time is not specified. I have read the play. You're talking about a play that you have read. You're talking about it in the present. Even at this point of time, the fact that you have read the play holds good. You must have read it yesterday or the previous day. You must have read it last year. You must have read it 10 years back. You must have read it at any time in the past. When that is not mentioned, when the specific time is not mentioned, when time is unspecified, but an action refers to something that is, but the verb refers to something that is an action that is completed in the past, we use the present perfect tense. So that is how the sentence may be rewritten as I have read the play. You'll notice that the time reference is not given there. The best way to rewrite it, however, would be in the simple past tense, because you need not avoid the time reference that is given to you. I read the play last week, or I have read the play. The exact time is not important when we use the present perfect tense. We cannot use the present perfect tense with specific time expressions like yesterday, 1 year ago, last week, when I was a child, and so on. However, there are some time expressions that are permissible, not specific time references, but more general time references, like for example, ever. This is the or let us say, this is the best movie that I have ever watched. I have ever watched, of course, refers to the past, but it does not talk about a specific point in the past. It talks about it in a more general manner. So I can use the present perfect tense there. I have, this is the best play I have ever watched. I have ever watched. Have plus watch in its past participle form. I have ever watched. Similarly, more general references to time like ever, never, once, many times, so far, already, yet. These can accommodate the present perfect tense, but never should the present perfect tense be used when the action in the past uses specific time references like yesterday, last week, last month, last year, that day, one day, at that point of time, and so on. Look at this sentence now. Her first novel had appeared in 1960. Let us first of all identify the tense in which this sentence is written. Her first novel had appeared. Had plus appeared. So what is that? It is the past perfect tense. Had plus the past participle form of appear. So had appeared. So it is a sentence written in the past perfect tense. Now, why do we have to use the past perfect tense here? We don't need to, because the past perfect tense, as we have already discussed in an earlier question, is used when we have two actions in the past and the earlier action among those is conveyed through the past perfect tense. Now, in this sentence, you just have one action, the novel appearing at a particular point of time, and the time is very clearly mentioned, 1960. So it has to be either the simple past or the present perfect. But since the time is specifically mentioned, it goes without saying, as we have discussed in the previous sentence, that we need to use the simple past tense here. Her first novel appeared in 1960. It is a sentence which conveys just one action, and it also mentions the time specifically. Therefore, her first novel appeared in 1960. So you will be discussing tenses in greater detail, and I'm sure it will throw up many more such situations your way. Do practice construction of sentences using different tenses, different structures, and you will get a better idea as to where which tense is to be used. Let us now turn our attention to another important topic in grammar. The use of structures like neither nor, either or, not only but also, and so on. These are called correlative conjunctions. A conjunction is a word, it's one of the parts of speech. It's a word that combines two words, two phrases, or two clauses. And the commonest conjunctions are and, but, so, or, etc. But sometimes sentences have parallel parts, which have to be combined together. And we need not just one conjunction, but a group of words or a structure like neither dash 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 nor, either dash dash dash, or. This is either my book or it is someone else's, that kind of sentence. Similarly, not only but also. This is not only a good book, but it is also very interesting. Something like that, that is the typical construction. Now, these are called correlative conjunctions. And, there are some specific correlative conjunctions like hardly. Now, hardly is a word that takes when as its pair word. The structure is hardly dash 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 when. So in the given sentence, which has this hardly construction, you notice that the second part of the conjunction is than. Hardly had we reached her house than the others arrived. Now that is not the used structure. Hardly always takes when as the second part of the conjunction. So it should be hardly had we reached her house when the others arrived. And it is with the another structure, no sooner, that we use than. No sooner had we reached the house than the others arrived. That would be right. So if you are using the hardly structure, make sure it is when that is used in the sentence. If it is no sooner, you can be sure that it is than that is used in the sentence. So correlative conjunctions are elements that connect to balanced clauses, phrases, or words. And I've given the examples of those structures: neither nor, not only, but also, hardly, dash dash, when, and no sooner, dash dash, than. So these sentences will give you a better idea regarding the usage of these structures. Hardly had I reached home when my phone rang. Scarcely had she finished reading when she fell asleep. Barely had they won the match when the coach had a heart attack. So hardly, scarcely, and barely, when they are part of a correlative conjunction, they take when as the second part. But in no sooner, the second part is than. No sooner had the company launched its new product than it went bankrupt. And now the last sentence. She is your friend, isn't it? One look at it and you know that the rule violated is that regarding question tags. It is the wrong question tag that has been attached to the statement in order to make it a question. The correct one should be a question tag where you have the same verb repeated in the question tag and the same pronoun too. This is a sentence which tells us about a she. She is your friend. So you write the statement and then you put a comma and then add the question tag. The question tag naturally has to have the same auxiliary verb as is present in the statement, and that is. And the structure of a question tag is the verb, auxiliary verb, plus not if it is a positive sentence, because you need to make it a question. Therefore, you need to add not. And then you repeat the pronoun that relates to the subject. Here, the subject is she, and naturally, the pronoun has to be she in the question tag. You cannot have it as the pronoun because the sentence is not about an object or a thing. The sentence is about a person. So it has to be an appropriate pronoun. She is your friend, isn't she? Is the right way of adding the question tag. And remember to put the punctuation mark without fail. The comma after the statement and then the question mark at the end. Now suppose this were a negative statement. She is not your friend. Then when you add the question tag, similarly, you write the sentence, she is not your friend, put a comma and then add the question mark tag. The question tag will take the same verb, auxiliary verb, as is present in the statement. She is not your friend. So is. She is not your friend. Is. You do not make it is plus not, because in that case, you would have two negatives in the sentence. She is not your friend. Isn't would make it two negatives, and two negatives make a positive. So that is not allowed. Therefore, in statements that are already negative, in the question tag, you do not need to add, or you cannot add not. So, she is not your friend, comma, is. The verb comes there, and then you end it with the pronoun. What is the pronoun there? She. She is she, and then question mark. So that is the way you compose question tags. So here you have the structure of question tags. And as the sentences are given, you may frame the question tags. She is your friend, isn't she? Seema is not your friend. You have a negative sentence there. Therefore, in the question tag, you do not add one more note. You just bring the auxiliary verb there. She is not, Seema is not your friend, is. And then instead of Seema is wrong. You use the pronoun, not the proper noun. She is not your friend. Is she? You can't say she's not your friend. Seema is not your friend, is it? Because it cannot go with Seema. You need to have the matching pronoun. If it is a person, it has to be either she, he, they, or I or we. She, he, they, I, or we. These are the 5 different pronouns which are permissible for um, uh, nouns, which subjects, which would be Seema, Ram, I, we, you, and you also. Okay, you are not going. Are you? You are coming. Aren't you? So you is also to be added there. She, he, you, I, we, they. Okay. So these are the 6 different pronouns that can be used for sentences where the subject is a person or a group of people. On the other hand, for others, you use it. This is a good book, isn't it? That is not a good movie, is it? So for all those, you can use it. It is also used for some, human beings like child. The child is crying, isn't it? It can be used there, but you may, to make it sound more natural, probably use he or she if the situation permits it. The child is crying, isn't he? The baby is crying, isn't it? The baby is crying, isn't he? The baby is crying, isn't she? All these are permissible. So that is about these sentences. We have now discussed 10 important situations where grammatical errors are often found to occur in the Concord subject verb agreement, with regard to the use of tenses, with regard to the use of question tags, with regard to the structure of questions or interrogative sentences, with usages like not only but also a hardly, prefer, and yeah, these are the different situations that you find people commonly making errors in. I mean, it's not really possible to learn all these rules by heart. What you are expected to do would be to familiarize yourself with these patterns, with these conventions, with these usages, and give yourself room and give yourself enough and more practice by framing as many sentences as possible. So look at each one of the situations. This is the structure of an interrogative sentence, it is said. So why don't you create similar questions for yourself, so that you become more and more familiar with interrogative sentences, with sentences that have the past perfect tense, the present perfect tense, and so on. So it is only through that kind of constant practice and by listening to good models of English that you can improve your communication skills. So I leave that task to you.